I don't follow American politics very closely. I'm not that interested, especially in domestic stuff. And I'm by no means a political expert of any sort. I don't know dick about economy. And, take everything I say in this video with a grain of salt. But let's talk about the shit show that is American politics and maybe a little bit about the election. Anyway, so for a while there, it really looked to me like somebody was trying to sabotage Trump's campaign, or maybe it just looked like he was running a campaign trying to lose, saying all kinds of dumb shit. And just because you can find, for example, an immigrant here and there that did eat a cat or a dog here and there, that by no means that that's a widespread problem that's worthy of being discussed in the presidential debate race. And it just made him look like an idiot. So don't be one defending the dumb shit, okay? Don't do it. And then he wins by a fucking landslide. And I know Kamala was a nobody and came into the race late and whatever. Okay, but it looked like it was going to be at the very least a tight race with Trump just blundering so much and just saying all kinds of dumb shit. Looking senile, sounding senile himself, right? It's funny to me how one part of the political spectrum or divide will point these things out when it comes to Biden. Yeah, it's obvious, but okay, why not Trump? There's no standards, there's no values, there's no principles by and large when it comes to politics or the rank and file and how they vote and what they think. They're just divided and conquered. They pick a team and they just root for a team. It's a shit show. It's dumb. Anybody who still pushes the right wing, left wing narrative, well, is either ignorant or they're a fucking fed. All right? I mean, is there a third option? So, yeah, it wasn't looking good for Trump there toward the end. And then he just smashes Mrs. Harris like nothing. And it's not okay for the left, who ridiculed the right so much, to talk about, voter fraud or whatever, even though there's evidence that something went on there. There's some shady shit. Anyway, ultimately, I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter if it's Trump or Harris or Biden or whomever, right? The person that's supposed to win, the person that's compromised enough, is, convinced to do whatever the shadow government or whatever you want to call it wants them to do. That's the person that's going to win. More often than not, especially lately, right? So this idea that Trump is going to make America great again, I mean, I don't even know what that means, to be honest. But since they've been talking a lot about tariffs lately, let's bring that up. And again, I'm no economist, and I don't, you could tell me I don't know shit about economy or politics. Okay, well, fair enough. Still not an argument. But from where I'm standing, it seems to me like tariffs on some of the major exporters into the U.S., trading partners, well, that's probably not a good idea for the American consumer and the economy in general. I mean, I don't know. It's probably 4D chess, and I just don't get it ultimately, but it just doesn't seem like a good start. I'm just saying, right? And if Trump happens to tank the economy or doesn't make America great again, will he get called out on it by his staunch supporters, by his supporters? Of course not. It's going to be somebody else's fault. And this whole rhetoric about being isolationist and all this, which is how he convinced all these people to vote for him because, can't be spending 1 millionth of our military budget on Ukraine by giving them 75% of which is, old shit that's gonna fucking rot and rust and disintegrate in storage unless we give it to somebody, right? Oh no, no, we can't do that, right? Because we have to look inward and, you know, fix our infrastructure and blah 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 blah, right? While giving billions to he will, right? Want to bet? Giving billions to that fucking international criminal wannabe genocider Netanyahu. Oops, some isolationism, right? MAGA, it's a funny way of spelling ZOG. Look, man, whatever happened with that attempted assassination, I mean, it was real to some degree, I think, just my opinion. You know, maybe, hey, maybe it was a way of convincing Trump to join them because he can't beat them. Maybe. And then, he's a convicted felon that's had all this prostitute problems. Again, I don't follow this shit because it's boring to me, but, I hear things through the grapevine. I guess he's been a naughty boy and has had a lot of trouble with the law, right? Now, how the fuck, explain this one to me. How the fuck do this, like, Christian right? These non-degenerates, how the fuck do they support and vote for a convicted felon and sex offender that's gonna, right? And you know this because he is ZOG, isn't he? He always was that, at least to a degree. Look at his cabinets. Um, how do you vote for a convicted felon, sex offender, that's going to give billions to someone like Netanyahu, the fucking devil? How do you talk about the hook nose people and um, the Jewish problem or whatever the hell have you, right? And then vote for someone like Trump as a Christian. Make that fucking make sense. Or even support someone like Trump. You're a fucking fed. That's why. Or you're either ignorant or you're a fucking fed. Or, sponsored, and maybe don't even know it's sponsored by some, private intelligence firm. I don't understand it. It's like nobody has any values or principles. Let's just keep it real. So yeah, MAGA is a funny way of spelling ZOG, because and isolationism is a weird concept when that seems to mean giving billions to someone else, not Ukraine, because well, what? Well, geopolitics. That's why. Now let's talk about Ukraine, since we're on the topic, and that is something I care about, and obviously Gaza genocide as well. I mean, but like, what can you say about that? Everybody knows what the deal is there. Everybody understands it. There's not even much of a debate, and the few people that defend that shit, I mean, they're not even worthy of having a conversation with. Fuckers are insane. Bought and paid for. Don't waste your time. Anyway, yeah, I just don't understand this idea that Trump's supposed to be somehow isolationist when he's gonna give billions to Israel. Yeah, maybe not Ukraine, but I mean that really depends, doesn't it? So the one positive that may come out of the Trump presidency is the end of the war in Ukraine. I do hope he ends it. And you guys remember, maybe some of you heard or didn't, how some months ago Putin, embarrassingly, in my opinion, admitted that he would prefer Mrs. Harris as the president of the United States. And the reason why he was embarrassed about it and had that stupid smile on his face while saying that is because, he's supposedly somehow anti-woke and she was pro-woke, and yet more convenient for him than someone like Trump, right? Because as bad as the war is for both Russia and Ukraine, the longer it goes on, right, the longer, that's how Putin gets to stay in power. And ultimately, a war of attrition with Kamala Harris or the Democrats in power is that are barely giving enough to Ukraine to survive or to prolong their suffering. Well, that's really in Putin's favor versus Trump ending the conflict as soon as possible, with Putin not having achieved even one of his goals, potentially stated goals before the war, right? So, no, U.S. is a problem for Putin, but Biden-like policies insofar as Ukraine, with no clear stated goal, no real clear plan of action, just delaying all this aid and giving Ukraine just enough to barely survive and dragging that conflict out for as long as, both sides can still fight. That's really in Putin's favor versus freezing or stopping the conflict where it is right now. And perhaps giving Ukraine a chance to, recover, accept all this foreign investment and rearm. Perhaps. So that's not... I could see why Putin was embarrassed to admit, my opinion, that he preferred Harris to Trump. So, I hope, Trump is successful in stopping this war. And I think he may be. There's a good chance that he will be. But don't get it twisted. It's not because he cares about all the innocent people dying. That's not what this is about. It's just about concentrating on, helping Israel and going to, at the very least, some type of war, if not a kinetic one, not yet, with China. Right? U.S. can't fight on all these different fronts because it's no longer a global hegemon, or I guess that's being contested right now. It just doesn't have the resources, the ability to contend with all these different, to be involved in all these different conflicts and hope to succeed. And the problem with prolonging the Russo-Ukraine war is pushing Putin more and more into the arms of China, some type of, deeper cooperation with, say, the Russian cannon fodder, right? Those meat waves combined with their willingness to, go die for a certain amount of money in Ukraine, combined with China's industrial base. You could say goodbye to Ukraine and then, add some North Koreans into the meat grind there on top of that. Goodbye, Ukraine. They're done, right? So, and Russo or Sino-Russo alliance, that's a big problem for U.S., right? So stopping this war would actually make sense if Trump and, Pentagon are to concentrate on China and hope to defeat China, whatever that war looks like. You got to get Russia out the fucking way and not in alliance with China. Maybe turn Russia against China, right? Maybe. So that might be the one good thing that comes out of Trump's presidency, and that's the end of the war in Ukraine. Gaza? Yeah. not so much. So it's going to be interesting to see how all those people who voted for, isolationism, when they end up having egg on their face, it's going to be interesting to see if they have enough integrity to admit they've been duped. When MAGA turns out to be ZOG, and it's not really about helping the average American, I wonder, if things, and I hope this doesn't come to pass, but if things keep getting worse and worse for the American blue collar middle class under Trump, I wonder if they're going to come correct and blame the people that need to be blamed, right? Now, I was always confused about Trump, and that's always kind of been the thing about Trump. You never really knew whether he was coming and going, what his goal was, who he was really for, right? Lifelong Democrat, runs on the Republican ticket. Like, it was just always kind of hard to figure out who this guy is. And maybe that's because, well, he was just looking for the highest bidder to tell him who he is. I don't know. Whatever the fuck happened with this dude, I think it's fair to say he's been compromised, right? All of his court cases will just disappear. All his whole trouble is just going to disappear. He'll never see a single day in prison, right? No one's going to try to kill him anymore. So long as he does what he's told. And I think he's going to do what he's told. And I guess we'll see what that is ultimately. But it's not going to be anything that, well, maybe indirectly, by mistake, but definitely not first and foremost. It's not going to be anything that really truly benefits the American people and makes America somehow great again. Even though it may make America more of a military power once again. That may happen. More powerful globally and engaging in some of these conflicts. He's gonna go to war, this dude, and most likely in the Middle East. This dude's gonna go to war, right? They're telling you, 9/11 was the reason he started pushing this BS that it was, a Muslim thing, right? It was the Muslim terrorists who did it. So we have to help our Jewish friends in the Middle East, right? Because Muslim bad. Yeah, okay. Our greatest ally, right? Our greatest ally, Israel. Yeah, okay. Oh, it's hilarious, man. It's sad. It's pathetic, but what else can you do except fucking laugh? I think Trump is clearly not an isolationist, really, in a true sense. It's just that America doesn't have enough resources to fight various types of wars on a whole bunch of different fronts. So they're using this isolationist rhetoric to pull out of Europe a little bit while concentrating the American might in the Middle East and China. And he's definitely not a degenerate. He's definitely not a Christian man. And I think it's pretty clear, in my opinion anyway, that whoever he may have been in the past and maybe was that guy that a lot of Americans, more conservative Americans, hoped he would be. Look, just because he puts his foot down on some of the LGBT stuff, at the end of the day, those are just minor issues. I'm not saying they're not important, but they're just minor issues designed to divide and conquer people, to make you not concentrate on that which really, truly influences your life and your pocketbook and your standard of living, and whether or not you're part of a great nation again. These are just, that's just for the birds, man. It really is, ultimately, at the end of the day. Because you know, all these dudes at the very, very top, you know, they're all a bunch of fucking degenerates sucking each other's dick. This is just who they are. They're a bunch of dirty fucking degenerate scumbags. Of course they are. That's obvious. Pedos, sexual deviants, whatever the fuck. Clearly, all of them. It's like so plain to see. So could it be that those people came up with that sort of a psyop to make you feel like they're on your side, right? And those other guys are bad guys. Could it be? I'm just saying. Could it be? Anyway, yeah. We shall see what the Trump presidency shall hold for the whole world and the United States specifically. But I think there's going to be some good things that come out of his presidency, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be all that you had hoped for voting for him. And he duped you. That's pretty clear to see anyway. Because to see people who claim to be Christian and anti-degeneracy to vote and support that fucking guy, I mean, what are you, stupid or a fed? Which is it?